Jeff.
I'm Tom.
I'm Kim.
And this is the Three Old Reds Fans podcast coming to you from a secret satellite location. A few miles from the heart of Cedarville, the famous birthplace and final resting place of Reds pitching legend Bumpus Jones. We just decided to go to somebody else's living room today. So we're at Kim's, and Callie, the cute little dog, has joined us here on the couch as we sit around in the sectional and with the microphone somewhere between us, and hopefully you can hear us all okay. And we got some basketball on the television muted, but mostly we're thinking and talking about baseball today. So if you subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app or website, thanks for being one of the most loyal Reds fans ever. We do have a 5-star rating on iTunes. You guys know that?
Wow. We should have 6.
You can only get to 5. We have 6 people who have rated us at 5.
Wow.
So
is that all of our wives and kids?
Yeah, probably. I paid people to do that. But if you haven't rated us, do that. Leave a review. Helps more Reds fans find us when they do go searching and stuff for things. It makes you more relevant. It's kind of like a Google search. So the rebuild's red hot, so we're here to talk about it. And we got some hope.
We do. First time in maybe 5 years, the MLB network has said, hey, they may win, they may go to postseason.
Yeah, who was that? You said
there was that guy that has the shaved sides of his head and has one strip of hair down the middle?
They got so many different guys on there. I'm not sure.
He's a former
player. Yeah, I don't remember which one you mean. I don't remember the name, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So yeah, that was exciting to get you warm on a cold February Ohio season.
Oh, I wish I was in Arizona right now with this cold I got. I apologize up front. I will cough many times. We're driving over here, and I'm like, why am I doing this today? But anyway, got to play hurt.
That's right. Play every day.
Play hurt. So, well, there's been some things happen since we last talked. Starting rotation was named. Not really the order, but the 5 guys that are in it. Of course, Sonny Gray is not starting today because of some elbow stiffness, but I don't think
Alex Wood, I think they put in his place.
I don't think we need to get worried.
Oh, they did?
I don't think we need to get worried yet.
No.
But
they said it was nothing serious.
Ultra conservative.
Yeah, anybody, when you saw those 5 names, did that surprise anybody whatsoever?
Well, only DeSclafani. I mean, I know he had a good year last year at the end of the season, but I would like to see maybe some of those young guys could have taken his spot.
Well, he's still kind of a young guy.
Yeah, I guess you don't think of him as young as the other guys. Cause
I think it's just 2 to 3 years ago before the injury, he had such a good 3/4 season with the Reds.
He's more proven, Tom, than some of those young guys.
I agree.
You're always about proven guys.
So I don't blame him for naming him, but it makes you wonder if Molly or one of these guys could take his spot.
Well, he'll get some starts this year in the big leagues. Cody Reed might. You don't know who else might get some starts because guys are going to get hurt. I mean, you already got a guy with elbow stiffness missing a start. Well, that can happen in July, right, to a guy for miss a couple starts, and you bring somebody up. Well, I think it's interesting, too, about pitching staff is I'm seeing a lot like maybe they're only going to keep 12 because they want to be sure they got enough position players and depth and guys that can play enough positions. I think center field issue is driving that probably. So
I just kind of think they're getting ready for the DH next year.
Oh, please.
So they have an extra position player.
Stop.
I agree.
If you consider DH a position.
It is.
No, it's not. I suppose you think cheerleading's a sport, too.
No, I do not. I do not.
For the 3 women that listen to the show, we've just lost our female audience.
Nor do I consider gymnastics a sport or diving a sport because it's an athletic competition. Figure skating, it's judged, so it's not a sport, but it is an athletic competition.
What about racing?
Well, whoever gets there first. So that's a sport.
NASCAR.
It's a sport. Yeah, because it's whoever gets there first.
It's not a competition.
No, it's whoever gets there first. It's a race. It's the most natural.
So in basketball,
it's the most natural.
Not a sport.
It is because whoever scores the most points.
Okay.
It's not judged.
I'm really sorry I brought
platform
this up.
diving, Greg Lougain is whoever had the most points.
Yeah, but it's based on judging, not actually putting the ball through the hoop. It's based on judging, not.
We do have judges, referees, but
it's not the same.
I see your point, Mr. Gill.
You see my point?
I do.
You don't.
I do.
You don't agree with it?
Okay, so I'm going to go on.
Let's talk about
This is
baseball.
not what I meant for this to go to, but so I think you were talking about how many pitchers you keep, maybe based on what the uncertainty in center field. Well, I think not signing Scooter, that's related as well, because if Senzel doesn't work out in center field, then he could easily slide into second base next year.
Right.
Yeah. Aside from who plays center field this year, aside from that, I think not signing Scooter is the right thing to do. I like Scooter. He's great for the ball club. He's a fan favorite. Throw all that out. In terms of you owning a team and what's best for the team in the long run, you've got Senzel and you've got Taylor Trammell. Is that how you pronounce his last name?
Yeah.
In the wings.
I agree.
You're sitting there long term.
Yeah,
I don't like the bad PR that comes with it, but in the mold of the New England Patriots, let's do what's best for the longevity of this franchise. I think the Reds are making the right decision.
Yeah, because I agree too. You don't really do something until you have to. You don't have to sign him yet. So
right.
The only thing I didn't like is if Scooter is being truthful, and I have no reason to believe he's not, the fact that they have reached out and the Reds haven't even responded with anything. I mean, that's no way to me. That's no way to treat an employee, is to just ignore them.
Agreed.
So that's now. Maybe the Reds would contradict that.
Yeah, we're only hearing one side of it, right?
That's one side, but from Scooter's side, if that's true, I don't like. But yeah, if at some point this year or at the end of the season it makes sense to sign Scooter for 3 or 4 more years, then do it. If not, you don't. So
if Trammell, is it Trammell?
It's Trammell. He's not related to Alan Trammell. So it's Trammell.
If Trammell is really that good, then why are we messing with Senzel in center field?
Well, Trammell's hasn't played above single A, and he actually didn't hit very well the second half of last season. I've heard people say, why didn't he get moved up to Double A late last year? Well, he wasn't really hitting the ball very well in the second half of the season. So, to your point, though, I think you got to figure out this year, and if Senzel is a good center fielder and can play it this year, but then a guy like Trammell is ready, and you think, okay, then that's why they're not giving Scooter the contract yet, because he could move to second. He could be like a Gold Glove guy at second, possibly, but not in center field.
Right.
So you put him where he's best, and then you actually have a better center fielder eventually in a guy like Trammell, possibly. So I think that's the thinking. It's just, how's it all going to play out?
Okay, so let's say things work out like you guys have been talking about. Senzel's the man. He stays down at AAA for a few weeks, and they bring him up, like they'll most likely do. And he ends up being the man in center field. He hits the cover off the ball. He plays a solid center field. Then do you sign Scooter?
I could see that happening.
Well,
it depends on what Taylor Trammell does in the minor leagues this year.
But he could play another position. He could play third, left or right.
I don't think so. I think he's an outfielder.
I mean left or right. He doesn't.
Yeah, but Senzel could also move to left.
Senzel could move too.
Could move to left.
I think Trammell's more naturally fitted for center field because he is such a strong athlete, covers a lot of ground, and just really the projections on him are pretty high. So I understand why the Reds are doing this, and it's not ideal. Maybe it would be a 1-year move, but to get him into the lineup, and you have to put him in center field, and as athletic as he is, and as Jeff, you pointed out, David Bell doesn't come out and say that if he's not really, in his opinion, going to be able to do that, I think it's a good move.
Yeah.
So Scooter's, he's 30, right? He's turning 30, something like that?
I'd have to look it up. He's like 29, 30. Yeah,
do
he's
you
right.
Best.
Well, I think that's a thing they're waiting on. It's like, can he do this one more year? I mean, if he has another really good year,
I mean, that's 3 straight.
I mean, it's,
and he's getting paid what, $12-13 million a year. So he'd get a pay raise. Let's say $18 million, but you can save that $18 million and go elsewhere, and goes towards pitching. You do it.
Yeah, you could, because the qualifying offer for him next year is going to be around $18 million, which is what you
know that. I was just throwing.
Well, it was close to that this year. It was like 17 something, I think, or maybe just over 18. So it's going to be in that 18 million range. So next year, to keep a Jeanette, a Puig, Alex Wood,
right,
those types of guys, you're going to have to make an offer like that. So how many? You're not going to make 3 or 4 of those.
Right.
You might make 1 or 2. You know, if Kemp is here for 1 year and gone, there's $21 million you got next year.
And the critical eye on these trades is that we're looking at, for the most part, other than Sonny Gray, and I don't remember about Roark, but Puig and Wood are 1 years. That's it. So you got to position yourself to fill the void if we don't re-sign a Puig.
And you got to feel like you re-signed the pitcher over the outfielder.
Yeah.
Alex Wood. I mean, to me that's a no-brainer.
And with the moves they've made, they did not trade away. They traded away a couple of good prospects, but they did not trade away the guys who are closer and going to be in the positions that you really need to fill long term. You know, they did trade. They traded 2 second basemen. They traded Jeter Downs and they traded Shed Long. And I know you'll see Jeter Downs listed as a shortstop because he was drafted as a shortstop. The guy's a second baseman. I don't think he's a major league shortstop, not yet. I think if he is, he's not elite defensively at shortstop. I think because I saw him play a lot last summer in Dayton, but I think the fact that they traded those 2 guys means that they feel secure about second base. It's either Scooter or Senzel for the next many years, beyond the point those 2 would be ready for the majors. Like, okay, we'll let them go because we feel really good about second base for the next many years. And I think that's pretty obvious. So, Scooter, I mean, he's just a constant topic of conversation. You know, what are we gonna do with him?
I heard a good interview of Joey Votto. I don't know if this is on our agenda to talk about, but
anything.
The interview was by John Schmaltz on Major League Network, and he was asking, so tell me, you know, over the years how you've adjusted your approach. And he said, well, the game these last few years has gotten so much faster. And what he meant by faster was the velocity of the pitchers. So he said, if you looked at me a few years ago, I stood much more straight up and I took more chances at the plate. But if you notice the last couple of years, now I crouch more and I've choked up on the bat. He said, I just had to adjust my game. And he said, that's how, because they were talking about longevity, how you keep doing what you're doing over time. And I thought that was interesting. I'd never really made that. I mean, we all saw him choke up. Was that last year, first year maybe? Or
last couple of years, I think it's been a thing.
But I remember Pete Rose, they interviewed him, and they're like, these players, they know adjust. Guys know that they can't hit the outside pitch, and they never hit the outside pitch. Why don't they learn to adjust? So obviously Rose had learned that through the years, how to adjust. And here's an example now of Joey Votto, Hall of Famer hitter, and he's learned to adjust. And I think that shows you what the great hitters have done. It's just an interesting interview.
Well, you gotta have enough humility about you to be willing to adjust and not think you could always be who you were when you were 19 years old.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of the Reds players who have sought to go the other way, like Votto has, the Votto influence. But I love hearing that comment that you just shared with Joey. One of the best in the game. And you look at the metrics, one of the best ever in several of them. OBP, for example. I don't know about WOBA.
Oh, yeah.
But then you listen to someone like Jay Bruce.
I was going to bring up Jay Bruce.
And Jay Bruce, when they would bring out that comment, the response that I would read in an article was, do you know how hard it is to go the other way? Do you know how hard it is to hit a baseball? You didn't hear that, and I'm going to use the word excuse. You didn't hear that word from Votto. He worked at it, and he recognized you can do it.
Bruce never took it the opposite way.
Made a halt right. He tried, and he did well at times for him.
It is really hard.
Tony Gwynn made a career out of the 5.5 hole. By the way, real quickly, did you see the picture of Jay Bruce in a Mariners uniform?
No.
He's had about 14 of those Donato's pizzas. I'll see if I can't find it and get it to you.
We ate Donato's before. Donato's is not our sponsor, but we ate Donato's before we turned.
It's actually a pizza and podcast.
Pizza and podcast, yeah.
And in that order.
Yeah. Well, I will say this. Jay is correct. It is really hard. And I think a lot of baseball fans watch baseball and think, why didn't they bunt more? Why didn't he go the opposite way more? When they got the shift on, why didn't he just hit it to right field? Well, you just You can't just do that.
No, you just
can't
don't decide to do
You
it.
can't walk up to the plate and say, "Oh, they're over there. I'm going to hit the ball this way." It ain't slow pitch softball, you know. But the other point is, you do have to really work at it in the off season.
And that was the point.
And
It's
Joey,
their full-time job.
Of the
It's your
article.
full-time job.
That's what they do.
Yeah, and some guys are more talented and are going to be able to do that better than other guys. But your point is well taken. You have to do that. So it's like, you know, okay, I coach middle school basketball. These kids, they get in the gym before practice, and you see them out there doing step-back threes. They think they're James Harden,
Half-court
right?
shots.
You know, and they're shooting that, and they're shooting fadeaway shots and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, so we talked to them. It's like, okay, don't ever shoot that in a game because you're in the 7th grade and the 8th grade, and you can't do that yet. You see James Harden do that. You know, and you see LeBron could not shoot threes like he does now when he came into the game. Kobe made himself a great jump shooter. Jordan made himself a better jump shooter because they practiced it over and over and over again. It's the same way with these guys. If you want to learn to hit the other way, you have to really intentionally work at it.
And baseball's a game of repetition. It's a muscle memory game.
Yeah.
Is what you always call it. So you got to have your muscles be able to just learn to do it automatically. And that doesn't happen. I mean, think of all the bad habits you get into. It's because you've done it bad over and over again. You know, you have to do it right over and over again.
It's like in guy used to help me with the coaching the high school golf team here. He would talk about, you know, okay, it's good to go out and practice your swing and go to the range and practice, but if you're not practicing the right way, it doesn't do you any good.
Yeah.
If your swing is, if you're not
practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice.
Yeah,
makes
if you're doing dumb stuff in your swing,
in fact, practice can make you bad.
Yes.
But going back to Tom's comment, you work hard when no one's looking.
Yeah.
You just don't show up. You don't show up to camp and start working. What did Votto say this offseason he's done that he's never done before?
Yeah, he's hitting right now.
He worked on his swing all offseason. And this comes from a guy who batted in the 280s, and that's horrible for Votto.
Yeah, which was
and he
bad,
was embarrassed.
Yeah.
And he hit 280. And remember, my fun mark is, okay, if we can hit 270, I'll take it.
Well, and it's not even just the batting average; it's all the other rate averages he has too.
The point being, he works when no one's looking.
His on base was still good, but his slugging was way down.
Right.
All those things were way
You know
down.
what, you guys? It's amazing that the Reds don't hire the three of us as consultants.
Oh well.
And why aren't we? We should be in Goodyear now. Think how we could help all those players hit.
Yeah,
I would like to be in Goodyear now. I agree with the first part. Why do I suddenly think of the Seinfeld episode where George Costanza is telling Danny Tartable, giving him advice on hitting? That comes to mind.
Was he really? When he was working for the
and
Yankees?
Tartable went in a slump.
Good old Danny Tartable. He was a good hitter. So, okay. So, we're not going to Goodyear right now, but, you know, we can dream. Starting rotation. Came out and said who the guys are going to be. Sonny Gray was supposed to start today. We're recording this on the first day of the exhibition game on February 23rd. A little elbow stiffness. They're being really cautious. Nothing to really worry about. However, we know that Gray, Roark, and Wood, the three new guys, and Castillo and DeSclafani, the holdovers, are going to be the five guys, barring injury, starting the season. We were talking earlier, Tom. You seen the DeSclafani did it? I don't know if did it surprise you, or you just wonder if they did that too soon.
No, I guess it didn't surprise me, but I would like to see if he's really better than our other young guys. You know, if they like to see him give those other young guys a little chance to take that fifth spot.
Okay, so like who? Molly and is Molly Molly's the first one that comes to mind?
Yeah, first
Mine
one
too.
always.
Mine too.
Yeah, of course.
I think out of all the guys that we're maybe thinking about, the Cody Reeds, okay, for example, Molly is the guy that, let's say he starts in Louisville, he's the one guy that will not go to the bullpen, and they've already had that in print. The other guys, you know, they're looking at Lorenzen stretching him, Garrett stretching him, Cody Reed, Brandon Finnegan, but Molly's been the one that they say they're going to keep him a starter. So I think he would be the likely candidate to be our next man up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting with Lorenzen. If he's the long man, they could actually not have to pinch hit for him as a long man, which could be an advantage.
Yeah.
Well,
so what do you think about? Have you seen the stuff about Lorenzen's working out with outfielders and getting more hitting in?
I love it.
Why can't? Not? All right, if these pitchers are complete players, why aren't they all hitting more?
They stop hitting. They stop hitting in college. They quit working at it.
Except the great athletes.
Sometimes
the athletes will pitch and hit college.
But I think that's the exception these days.
You're right. It is. You're right.
Everybody knows how I feel about the DH. If they would stop laughing at me over there. That's Kim. He's laughing at me because I go on these rants.
Laughing with you.
Laughing with me. It's like, no, everybody should be a complete player. Okay, well, if pitchers could hit better than 110 and actually worked at it and could at least hit 200, then I could buy the argument. The thing is, it's like, oh, that has to be a complete player. Well, they're not complete players, so why are they batting?
So I hate the fact that they don't allow them to be complete players. And I hate the fact that I'm going to say, you're probably right, the DH will come. Because it's for the fans, right?
Yeah.
It's not for the purists.
Well, the AL did it because attendance was bad in the early 70s, and they needed to do something, and that's what they decided to do.
Yeah.
And they had people like Charlie Finley and Bill Veeck as owners in their league, so they were willing to try anything. So,
orange baseballs.
Yeah,
Charlie Finley's.
Charlie had orange baseballs.
Bill Veeck, the shorts. Minnie Minosa.
All kinds of weird stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
there were gadgets. You're right.
Oh yeah. So
who's going to be the opening day starter?
Could be Gray or Wood, but I think it should be Castillo. That's my opinion.
Why?
Because I think if you think he's your best guy, potentially your number one, and you think he's the most talented guy you got, let's get him out there.
Okay, what about this?
I'm
2
not
years
worried.
ago,
I'm not
we were all impressed, and we're looking forward to the next season, which was last season. And a very, very slow start. And overall, a so-so season. Much better in the second half. So couldn't you say, okay, we recognize this guy has the potential to be our best man, but let's, maybe fair or not, let's just take some weight off of him, take some weight off the rotation, and let's go with a Wood or a Gray or a Roark. And
perfectly legitimate argument. I'm just telling you what I'd do.
Right.
You know what
I'm not saying you're wrong. This
I might
time,
say who's the best.
But I am saying that's what I would do.
I might see who's the best cold weather pitcher. And make it practical. And,
Lorenzen.
I don't know who it is. Maybe one of these guys doesn't mind the cold compared to other people. But that might be the most practical thing to do because it's most likely going to be cold.
Oh, you think? Well, and Castillo's a warm weather guy. I mean, he's obviously didn't grow up in cold weather, but he's
maybe Roark is a better cold weather pitcher. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they'll just kind of wait and see what's going on in spring training. If I had to pick it today, that's what I would pick. Now, spring training, these guys get some innings under their belts, and we see how they're pitching, and who seems to be really pitching well, has the most confidence. Then I would be possibly willing to change my mind. But I don't know. It's just kind of way I'm. If you think he's your best guy, just do it. What do you got to lose? You don't really have anything to lose. I mean, it's one game in 162 games.
Since we're talking about opening day, who's going to be our outfield opening day?
Boy, that's a really good question.
Who are the three guys? All right, who are the three guys you figure are going to play every day the most?
Puig and Winker.
Puig and Winker. So Puig in center, Winker in right.
I think those are the two most. Those guys will probably get the most ABs.
And they switch out left field, maybe, according to.
I mean, yeah, everybody being healthy, and somebody not flopping, which guys flop sometimes in a season or have a terrible start and they lose some at bats. I mean, that could happen to anybody on any team, right? If Votto starts slow, he's not going to lose at bats. But I could see a Winker starting slow and losing at bats. I could see a Schebler starting slow and losing at bats.
I'm afraid your Shebs is going to be the odd man out.
I think he is. I think he probably is. I mean, I think people are like, oh, we'll trade Kemp. Well, I'm like, man, that guy swings a good bat.
I think they might put camp out in left field opening day just because we traded for him. He's a big name. He's a good
above Winker.
Well, they could put Winker.
Winker
They
and
could
Riley.
put Winker in right and Puig in center. I could see that happening.
That's what I'm saying. Opening day. That would be. My
I've heard
prediction.
people say, even though right field is supposed to be your better defender than, or like a harder position than left, I've heard people say they think, for whatever reason, when they see Winker in right, he plays better than he does when he's in left.
He's played well in right.
And so I don't know what that
Your
is.
best arm usually goes in right.
Right,
Right.
but as far as playing the position, he's done better than that. But I could also see them going Winker from left to right. I could see them going Winker, Schebler, Puig. I could see that.
Yeah, because Chev played a lot of center field last year.
I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
I think you want to put Puig in right. I
I
think
just
you're going to
feel
see
like they
Puig in
traded
right.
for Kemp and Puig. They'll probably put them in the outfield opening.
Now Senzel has a great spring, and they've got no qualms that he can be ready and play. He could be in center field on
It's
opening
not going
day.
to happen.
It could happen.
There's no way.
It could happen. He played.
I bet you Donato's pizza.
He played winter ball down there. It could happen. I'm going to have some M&Ms while you, because I can't
2 weeks.
I can't take it when you say that.
2 weeks have passed. We're beyond that. Okay, we're in the control era now. Control period. Senzel is up, and he becomes the super utility player in the mold of a Cub, the way that Madden has done things for the Cubs. And he could play second base. He could play center field. I think that's what's going to happen with him. And I'll take it with his bat.
I think
what
he's
he's
gonna-
done at every level. I take it.
I think that's a good likelihood.
Yep.
But not
I'm
until they start him in AAA. They got to get. We wouldn't be thinking for the future if we let him play right off the bat.
That's why I said. But remember, the first thing I said was, we're beyond the first 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
We're now in the period of control.
And Jeff doesn't think long term, so he's not on
No.
board with us.
He says we're wrong. He says that a lot, though.
You guys are wrong. No more M&Ms for you.
It's not your evidence to give.
No soup for you.
Oh, I can pull the bowl over here next to me and hold it, and you
He's
come
so
and try.
selfish.
And you come try to take it away from me. Oh well, there comes the bag. There's more peanut butter M&Ms.
Yeah, I like the peanut M&Ms better. But
Yeah. So I just, if he's not, if you get to the end of spring training and you're like, he's not quite ready, we still legitimately need some seasoning for defensive purposes, then leave him down. If the only reason you're going to put him down is to play those games on the contract thing, I don't like it. I think it borders on being unethical.
You'd be a terrible GM.
No, I wouldn't. I'm for the players. I am.
That's why you'd lose your job. You're supposed to be for the team to win games.
Well, I am.
I think Jeff has a poster of Marvin Miller as a little boy growing up. Everyone else had Pete Rose and Johnny Bench. You had Marvin Miller and Kurt Flood, didn't you?
Hey, he's my hero. Marvin
Kurt
Miller.
Flood was with the Reds before all that, too.
Yeah. So anyway, that's just the way I think about it. You're supposed to come north with the 25 best players, and if he's one of the 25 best players, then he should be coming north. That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. And you guys can disagree. That's
All
fine.
right.
You can be wrong, but I can't.
How about this?
It's an opinion.
Can I change the subject a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. It's your show as
All
much
right,
as it is mine.
He says with his fingers crossed. Harper hasn't signed, although the Phillies owner flew out to Vegas to meet with him yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Keuchel hasn't signed. So things are going to happen pretty soon. So what do you think is going to happen with these two players?
I think it's obvious Harper's going to go to the Phillies. I think that's a done deal. The only other chance was San Francisco Giants, I think.
Keuchel might end up back with the Astros. I don't know.
That's what you said the other day.
Yeah, I haven't heard any rumors about Keuchel. Have you guys?
No, he's just, the free agency has been a soft market the last couple of years, and
Players are upset about it, but
Well, they
Changing
can be,
game.
but it's a market. The market dictates. And if
Right.
the market's down right now, that's what happens in a free market.
yeah,
If you don't like it, that's tough.
I know.
And it doesn't mean there's collusion going on. But if I'm an owner and I have a team and I want to keep my payroll down a little bit and the market's down, That's the way it is.
That's what America's built on. Capitalism.
I mean, I wouldn't have been upset if the Reds would have paid Dallas Keuchel $20 million a year for 3 or 4 years. I'd have been okay with that, but they didn't do it. You know, their payroll. So I heard, as I listened to maybe Red Leg Nation podcast the other day, they were talking. Somebody had done the numbers, or they'd read it somewhere else where somebody had done the numbers. I don't remember which. But in terms of the actual number, the Reds will have their highest payroll ever, a little over $120 million. In terms of inflation, they won't. They've had it at 115, 116. If you look at inflation from those years, it's actually not. It's similar. It's very close. And the median payroll last year was still up in the 130 million. So they're still even below the median. So, you know, there's a whole lot of talk about the market size is not the great divide that the small markets have always said. And so we don't really know because we don't actually know what all the accounting numbers of every team. But a lot of people who know a lot of stuff are saying that a lot. So of course it's easy to spend other people's money. I'd be happy to spend Bob Cassidy's money for him if he'd let me.
Yeah, we have $200 million payroll.
Yeah.
You know, what you haven't heard is there's no doubt in my mind that Harper and whoever, it's kind of nice. Okay, I don't have to go to camp as early. You hear that in football more so, right?
Yeah.
And basketball more so than baseball because you're getting into warm weather. That's sort of a draw too.
Yeah.
I can't help but think that's part of it. But also, I look at Kemp, our Kemp. We've all talked about it, and not just us. It's been in the press that he could be trade bait. I just think of still there's so many dominoes that have not fallen yet, and then you throw in an injury or two that may occur with some teams. Kemp becomes an expendable asset.
Because whoever's been trying to get Kemp and doesn't get him might
now all of a sudden
might
they say,
need
okay.
a Kemp.
Right.
Well, Kemp's at $21 million.
Yeah,
Did you guys
just
say?
1 year.
What do you think Keuchel's going to be?
I think he wants that range. He wants that range.
See, so you could.
See, we
With the
talked about.
Astros.
I think you and I, or maybe it was Jeff.
I don't know that the Astros
me and
need an
someone else
outfielder.
talked about. I would overpay for Keuchel. Granted, his numbers.
Yeah,
are
I wouldn't
whatever.
give him
I wouldn't
double
give
what
more
he's
than
worth,
3 years.
but
I would go no more than 3 years, and I'd overpay him a little bit.
I agree. There's not many of those in the Major League Baseball.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you know.
And they have a solid number one.
Yeah. Machado, what's he getting? $30 million a year
Yes, for 10 years.
for 10.
So the Padres are going to be the new Astros, aren't they?
They could be. They could be a handful out there soon.
Yeah.
They really could. So
They're San Diego. Something always happens.
something goes bad out there. Is that what you're saying?
Seems it. They've never won a World Series. Right?
No.
Weren't they in a World Series one time in the 80s?
Were they?
Yeah, they beat the.
No, they never won the World Series.
They beat the Cubs and got to the World Series and lost to the Tigers, didn't they?
And
Was that 84?
That's when they had Steve Garvey, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, they might have.
But they just don't seem to.
The sound of M&am's being pulled out of a bowl. That's what that little noise was. So, and there comes some more. So M&M sales are going to go way up. People listening to this podcast. But yeah, the Padres are set up for the future.
Yep, they are.
Feels like.
Do they have good pitching?
I don't know how good their pitching is yet. I mean, it's better than the Reds has been, and all the talk is that they've got 12 guys in the top 100 or something like that of prospects, and they're the envy of everybody for the talent that they've been stockpiling. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see the next couple of years if they really, and that's what Manny's counting on.
Yeah.
So San Diego used to be a place where a lot of free agents would go, but it just never worked out because of the weather. You know, people would go there all the time, and it just never. You know, I mean, they had some good teams with Glenn, and like I said, they went to a World Series, and they've been good at times, but they've never been able to win at all. So, we talked about bullpen pitching starters, that we're hearing stuff. Maybe they're only going to keep 12 pitchers in the bullpen, and possibly because they feel like they need an extra position player. But they're also talking about using Iglesias for more than just a ninth inning guy, and that could be part of it too. If he's going to pitch more innings, maybe you feel like, and everybody else is going to have the opportunity to pitch a little more and be a little less specialized at times. Maybe that's a reason.
Wouldn't you need more pitchers if that was the case?
Well,
If you're going to use guys earlier in the game, wouldn't you need more pitchers?
maybe. That does
It's like
make
you
sense.
go with 13. If you're going to if you're going to only have your starters go to the 6th inning, you need a 7th, 8th, and 9th inning guy.
Well, I could see starting the season with 12, and once you starts
Right.
getting hotter, you have fewer days off. Guys are
That's-
starting to pile up some innings. You go to 13.
That's where I was saying Lorenzen is such a luxury because you bring him in the 7th, let him hit for himself, and you haven't used your bench. You got more pinch hitters left over after that.
And they did that last year. Of course, we weren't in any race or anything,
Right.
but there were several games where he batted for himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's working out with outfielders and
Yeah.
pitchers. What do you think of that?
I like
Maybe
it.
that's another reason that they're only keeping 12 pitchers.
Right. I like it. The thing that David Bell has brought to the environment of being a Reds fan is Riggleman was by the book. If the book didn't have it in print, he would not do X, Y, Z. Bell
The tradition.
has a different set of metrics, and he will say, "Okay, I'm gonna throw tradition out the window, and we're gonna do this." And the reasoning for Iglesias, maybe we pitch him in the 8th inning. If y'all read the article, is maybe we're facing the 2-3-4 or the 3-4-5 hitters, and after that, the last inning, all right, we've got guys who aren't hitting as well. That makes sense. It's
Right.
very intuitive.
Right.
Let's go ahead and do that.
I think it's great.
And he either pitches 2 innings or you bring in Hernandez or Hughes or somebody to
Right,
pitch the,
and
to pitch
I
the
think
ninth.
we texted each other this week. As well as Hughes and Hernandez pitched this past year, why not?
And
Those
you
two
got,
pitched
you got
well.
Garrett, too. I mean, we got a strong
Exactly.
You
bullpen.
see, Amir
Hey,
Garrett just got contact lenses,
I
and
saw that.
his doctor says he's going to strike more guys out. So we'll see.
What's the doctor now?
Yeah, doctors. Yeah, they don't know anything. I'm kidding.
Not you, Dr. Guernsey.
Yes. So they just also signed Jose Iglesias, shortstop, adding to more depth, which I think is one thing that this front office is doing is they're growing the depth. And Iglesias, the interesting thing about him was he came up with the Tigers when Suarez did, and the Tigers chose Iglesias to be their shortstop, better defender. Figured his bat would come around more, and the Tigers traded Suarez because of that, and now the Reds have him as a minor league contract because his bat hasn't been great. But the Reds, I think it's a good move because if Peraza gets hurt, they don't have a great shortstop option. Blandino can do it now and then, but I think he's better at other positions. I don't think shortstop's his best position. Plus, we don't know if he's even going to be ready for opening day. Senzel experiments at shortstop.
Senzel,
Yeah,
depending on where you are, if you're in the race or not.
he could move Suarez over there for a day or two if he had to, but
Just the good insurance to
it's
have.
good insurance. And they've, if you look at our depth, I mean, Matt Kemp's your 4th outfielder. Senzel maybe your utility guy bouncing around who's got a lot of promise. You feel like you're in good shape at catcher with those 2 guys. Blandino showed that he can be a good major leaguer utility guy last year, I think. You still got Irvin.
Like Trahan.
Yeah, and Irvin can play. Philip Irvin can come up and play some outfield
Yep.
for you.
Yeah, he's a good pitch runner.
That's another thing they've done. They've addressed depth. They've addressed so many things that we've talked about a lot and everybody's read and heard a lot about. But I just think it's good.
And other than San Diego signing Machado, well, not even other. The Reds have been the most active team in free agency.
No doubt.
I shouldn't say free agency, acquisitions.
Yeah.
And when does that ever happen?
No, it's made them interesting and relevant. So
So we'll have to wait till after spring training or something for us to predict, or at the end of spring training, predict a finish, how many wins. Let's not do that today. Let's keep our listeners on the edge of their seats.
Ooh, I like it. It's good marketing, Tom. It's good marketing. It's good marketing. So, anything else about this team right now that you think is there any other big question marks? I feel like we have fewer question marks.
Fewer for sure.
We've already discussed the center field thing.
Starting pitching is still a big question mark.
Pardon me. I'm sorry about this cough. I can't get rid of it.
So I mean, we're so much better with Gray and Wood and Rourke, but that's still a big. I mean,
at least
starting
for
pitching
me,
is always tenuous.
Yeah, that's true.
A big criticism I had last year was, and I got this from watching and reading Castellini and his tinkering, his involvement. Don't have to worry about that with Billy this year. I don't know if Castellini has any other favorites, but it seems to be this is David Bell's squad.
Well, I think he likes Scooter a lot, but the fact that they haven't offered him a contract says that it's another thing to say Castellini.
I'm going to say I think Winker too, Jeff. I think Winker too, because I was out in San Diego when they made the all right, fine, we're going to go away from the rotation outfield. And Winker's the odd man out. Winker sat out that next night and never went out again until his injury.
Yeah.
And I think Riggleman was overruled.
Well, which was fine because it was a dumb
agreed.
decision.
Overall, right or wrong, but you don't want the owner jumping in. I don't, at least.
Yeah, well, I think that's some reasons why we're where we are now. We went and found a guy who will think for himself, but also doesn't want to live in a silo of the dugout.
Agreed.
The dugout and the front office are not like these two silos now where nobody ever talks to anybody. I think there's a more cohesiveness throughout. It's kind of like if you run a high school program, or is the middle school program doing stuff the high school team is doing to prep them for the high school, or are you living in silos and doing your own thing? Like they play zone. Middle school kids play zone for 2 years, and then they get to high school, and the coach says we're playing man, and they haven't been playing man. You don't do that kind of stuff, and that's kind of the way the Reds seem to be at times in those silos of that. So, work in higher education, we know all about silos, and it gets talked about a lot. Let's try to have more. What's the word I'm looking for? Collaboration across things. So it's a more collaborative environment, and everybody's always wanting to be more collaborative and always talking about it. Whether it's at a school, within a team programs, within a baseball team like this, and they seem to be wanting to be more collaborative, and that's good. It's good.
Right.
It's, not one guy has all the answers.
Right.
So, except we do. We have us three have all the answers.
I think we would consult for fairly cheap to the Reds.
Yeah, just
so
weekend tickets.
A little bit more than that, but yeah,
somewhere between that and Machado's deal.
Okay.
Well, okay. Free Cokes when you go to the game.
All you can eat seats.
All you can eat seats.
Not the March, April games. They want free hot chocolate.
Yeah, yeah. Free concessions, all you want.
There you go.
And Saturday, Sunday tickets every time they're at home.
And Friday evening too.
And Friday evening, yeah. Weekend packages for home games.
We probably need like 6 or 8 tickets to bring our friends.
Yes, and we don't have to be one of the first 20,000 to get the bobblehead. We get it anyway. So
save us one because we're going to be
all
late.
those things.
We have to take Diamond Jim with us because then we get to meet Suarez.
Yeah.
And Votto.
That's true. He's gotten in. He knows those guys.
Yeah.
And they know him by face and reputation apparently. So,
You're right.
Anyway, all right. Well, it is the beginning of spring training games, and we are hopeful. We, I think, actually have some belief that this team can compete, and that come June, we're not out of it. We may not be in first place, but we're not out of it. And I think we would take that at this point, especially after the last 5 years. So,
yeah, I think we'll be disappointed if we don't get at least 500 this year.
Oh, I will be. I expect to be a 500.
Don't say too much. Leave them hanging. Remember that.
Well, I didn't say. I didn't give my World Series prediction.
Yeah.
Shh. All the way.
May. Oh, that's Tom Hanks' movie.
Yeah, all the way. World Series or bust. No, I don't know. I mean, well, you remember I pointed out a couple shows ago, looked at some turnarounds in Reds history, and it would not be unprecedented for this team to make a lot of noise in October.
Worst to first.
Yes, it would not be unprecedented.
We've had
And
enough
I'm
of
sure
worst
they're
to
not,
worst to
and
worst.
that's just looking at Reds history. There are plenty of other
Yeah.
examples, I'm
Minnesota
sure, of
Twins.
baseball history.
Minnesota Twins.
Yeah, of being worst to first or close to worst to
Kansas
first.
City Royals.
Hey, if the Browns could win that many games this year, anything is possible. Would the Browns win 8 games? 7 games?
Maybe 7.
Anything's
Maybe 7, 8,
possible.
1.
The fact that they won 2 means anything is possible. So yeah, it is. So, all right. Well, anything else pressing? Shall we move on? Say good night and move on our separate ways here. Anything else pressing? No. Well, thanks for the pizza and the M&Ms and the bottle of water and
the breadsticks.
the breadsticks and the couch to sit on and thanks to Callie for keeping us company but not being noisy.
Keeping my leg warm.
Not a yappy dog, that's for sure. Well, never. Good. All right. Well, exhibition games are beginning. The season is coming fast, so set your DVRs and watch a little bit of this and see a little bit of that and enjoy the beginning of exhibition season. We'll go from there. All right. Everybody ready to say goodbye?
We're ready.
All right. 1, 2, 3.
Go
Go Reds.